Today we have a conversation with one of our best trainers, Mr. Taiwo. A few words about him. He was in the beginning of his career. He was trained by Toyota's affiliate, which is I cannot pronounce this name. Shingijutsu. Yeah. Then he used to work in General Electric's healthcare in France and Hungary. After that, a long experience with Flextronics Hungary, right? And he is a master of Kaizen, certified black belt of Lean, and champion of Six Sigma. And of course, the wide experience of basically personal consulting all around the Central European region. Right? Good.
Even beyond Central East. Even to some extent to the West.
To the West?
Yeah, I've consulted in France before, I've consulted in Germany before.
France and Germany. Okay. So, is it secret who was in Germany?
The company in Germany was called Linamar. It's a Canadian-based company with factories, I think about 4 factories in Europe, and then it has about 42 factories in North America. So it's really a big company. And then right now they're opening factories, to the best of my knowledge, in Asia.
Nice. Yeah, sounds impressive. What's your current project, if it's not a secret again? So, in which kind of fields you're working?
My current project right now is 2 types. The first one is in the manufacturing company, and that's not in this country where we are sitting right now, but in another one. I do have another project which is in services, financial sector, insurance sector, basically the combination of the two, and we are doing process optimizations right now.
Sounds potential. So, look, basically why we are here, because a few questions, yeah?
Okay.
What's your practical experience from your, practical working, yeah? Like, what do you see in your client, when you are working with your clients and basically work with organizations? Was there a major problem from your point of view as an expert of Lean and Six Sigma and so on? I would even say, like, what kind of in some way stupid stuff you see, and what kind of solutions must be, let's say, introduced to organizations in order to optimize their stuff and so on.
Alright, okay. I will try to take those questions in 2 ways. The first one is to really talk about the problem I see every day, and then towards the end I will start talking about the kind of solutions that may be used depending on the type of company in question. And it is very, very important for organizations to understand that they need a tailor made solution, not just accepting any kind of solutions to their environment. They need to understand, first of all, what a particular methodology, which is supposed to give the solution, is going to tell them, and then they need to look into how they want to apply that into their own organization. But as I said, let's go step by step. The first thing is that every organization has got problems. Some of them have more problems than the others. And in most of the cases, if you're talking about problems, you can even categorize organizations in that way into two categories. The first one is really dealing with the big companies, and then the second part is talking about small and medium-sized enterprises. The problem magnitude in both type of companies are different from one another. In some ways, the big companies do have resources to, when it comes to the fact that they want to have solutions, they do have resources to help you in getting the solutions. The small and medium-sized enterprises don't even have the resources, and that's the main reason why I'm putting them into different categories, because of the resources they may want to tackle. When it comes to the problems per se, they all have the same type of problems, and all their problems are basically springing from these organizations. Now here, we are talking about organizations, and I am already talking about these organizations. In a word, this organization in my head means that these entities, they do have something which holds them together. But if you take a closer look at them, a very closer look at those organizations, organizations, you realize that they are not, first of all, cooperating together. For example, you can think of a problem related to order to delivery, which is a process problem, because all we are talking about is a process problem. From the very beginning to the very end, you have many different functions working on those processes, and what you see is that the first function takes its part of the problem, throws it over the wall, solves it, what it can do, and then throws it over the wall to the second function. The second function also does something, and the whole thing continues to the end of the process. And what happens? The customer is not satisfied. They do have some internal fights. Their processes are not aligned, and in other words, they don't have the results they want to have. Now I'll go to the other extreme. That is very clear. I'll go to the other extreme. The other extreme is really talking about organizations who will be telling you that they're making a lot of money. And I've been there many times asking, is this all the money you can make? And the answer is simply, we think so. So when you look deeply into what they are doing, you realize immediately that they can make even 40% more of the money they are already making, because they don't really understand the potentials which is in their system. They have all sorts of waste, they have all sorts of variation, nobody is dealing with those variations, they have all sorts of constraints, nobody is dealing with those constraints. And that is why when we go into the system, we first of all try to understand what they are trying to do, and we see irregularities, and we try to address those irregularities, because it is the irregularities that take away the money from the company. And think about material costs, think about warehousing costs. You do have one person hired by a company to be driving trucks within the company, up and down, whether the person is moving goods or not moving goods. This person you still pay at the end of the month. What is the added value in what he is doing? I'm not saying the person should not be driving trucks, but how much of his time should he be spending on driving trucks? This is a very simple example, and you encounter that in every company. So if you're paying someone, let's say 500 euros per month, and you realize that the amount of work that person does in your company is actually 50 euros, it is not because the person has no value, but because you've not been able to give that person the right activities, the right tasks to perform. That is why you see that you waste 450 on useless things, and you left undone useful things. So instead, move that person to do useful things for the company, and for that purpose, you have even more money, and you have many things done. So that's like the kind of problems you face in companies.
So it's like what I get is a message that not only the waste is important, to concentrate on waste is important, but actually to see what's the potential the organization.
Exactly. Because that's what I meant by saying they can add about 40% to their results, meaning they have hidden potentials, and they need to dig into those hidden potentials, tap them, and even let them become something positive for the company. So that's part of that's one part of it. The other side, which I will go into, is there are many different kind of solutions that organizations can benefit from. The first thing to be understood, this is probably, I'm not the first person to say it, all work is a process. All work, all that we do in a company is actually a process. And if we don't understand the scope of the process we are dealing with, it's already a problem. So you go through the right definition of your processes, you think about measuring your processes, you think about controlling those processes, you think about improving those processes. Now, if you look at those stages, you realize that the problem actually lies in organizations not defining what their processes, and in most of the cases, they don't even know what the processes are. I'm not talking about you understanding half of your process, but understanding what process you are dealing with from the very beginning to the end, understanding the roles and the responsibilities of the functions working in that process, understanding how the process itself should flow. Because if you have a process and it does not flow, you know, what is the essence? You end up losing money. And in most manufacturing companies, this is exactly the problem. What they are supposed to do once, they end up doing it about 3 times. And they still go on complaining. Why is it that they are having too much waste? Why is it that they are having too much rejects? Why is it that they have too much non-conformities? And they have rework all the time. They have scrap all the time. So all those things take away their money. And no value is added the first time. So therefore, there is a good understanding. There needs to be a good understanding of what process they are dealing with, how to do the process right the first time till the end. Then you say you have a good process. For solutions, I mean, to rectify, to rectify these kind of problems, you have many methodologies. And I will have to say that most of the methodologies have been misused. Because some companies may be concentrating on Six Sigma. Right now, it seems I'm talking against myself. Secondly, some